So this is my official client interview with Mike Nichols, absolute savage. Mike, thank you for being here, brother. So Mike has been able to, in under 90 days, the program is 4 months. That's what OptiLife is. But in under 90 days, this man himself was able to double his commissions, not even 90 days before that. And most importantly, build a sustainable lifestyle that allows him to show up, operate, and unlock peak performance every single day. And that has also led him to double his productivity, double his focus, double his energy, scale his commissions, and most importantly, scale his life, scale his health. That's what we're here for. So, Mike, thank you for hopping on this client interview. Dude, you're a savage. I'm so excited to hop into this interview and kind of break down what's your mindset behind things, like how was it coming into it. But if you kind of just want to drop a little bit about yourself, tell the audience kind of what you're doing, what the situation was, let's start there, bro.
Yeah, man, definitely. Thanks for having me on. Just to kind of give you clarity too, before I met you and, it was like kind of, just a grind, workaholic basically. I started my business, about 2 years ago. And, we were, at the beginning, we were founder-led sales. Until this day, we do still founder-led sales. And, it was just getting to the point where like, our business wasn't growing because, we were just working till 3 o'clock because we're on sales calls all day. And, I was just at the point where it's like, okay, cool. I want to hire, but I still have to have the energy to take calls and train at the same time. Right. So, when I first met you earlier in I would say early spring, I had just got off of like a good 2 months of just literally what I said, which is grinding up to 3 o'clock, finishing projects. And it was to the point, going into my 30s, I just couldn't really see myself sustaining that. And I needed a way to just basically, like you said, optimize my life, not just for business. Obviously, that's like your role, the 80/20, but really for my well-being for the rest of my life, right? Getting older, managing people and being there for my family, I always get reminded when, I'm sick or I'm just like out of it. It's just like my health is like, doesn't matter what's going on in my life. Your health is always number one. So, but yeah, man, working with you so far, I've been able to really like clarify what I really want, more so than just business. So yeah, man.
I love it. That one touches home, man. We're doing things bigger than the purpose of ourselves. And I love that one. It's interesting too, brother, because you are, I don't want to call you old. Okay. Don't get mad at me. But typically sometimes some of the other clients that, we work with, they're typically maybe sometimes maybe 23, 24, maybe even getting into the game, right? Still very skilled at 20. You're young, you're unstoppable, you're bulletproof, right? So it's hard to see how, well, if I get sick, I'll deal with it then. But when somebody's sick, all we want is our health to feel normal. What would you say, knowing like, cause you were 24 at one point, you were 22, you were grounded. What would you say to someone that's like, dude, like, I really understand, like, anybody can benefit from this, especially me, since my income is tied to my performance, but I'm young, like, I don't need something like this. Like, what would you say to that person being been there, done that phase?
Yeah. Good question, man. Personally, I think age does play a part. I feel like, and I always use my grandmother's reference. She's like, your body can be 74, but your mind can always be 21, right? And at the end of the day, I always see your mind as a computer. And there are going to be times when you could really grind it out. At 22, I was able to just work double shifts and, just grind it out and wake up the next day fine. Um, but it wasn't sustainable. Like I said before, it works for a short period. But when it starts to affect, not being able to go out because, you have to work and you're just tired and your social life starts to become effect. Everything else starts to become effect because you could be making great money. In my early 20s, I was grinding, making six figures, but I didn't have time to really spend with my family. I was missing Christmases and I just I wasn't really at my peak, and I think no matter how old you are, I always believe there's, like you say, you always tell me there's 80/20 rule to everything you do in life, right? Like it's okay to grind. It's okay to be, in that state of focus and flow is like what I like to say, the state of flow. But you could spend 10 hours working and get the same amount of work you'd get done when you're optimized in 4 hours, right? And that's my biggest thing, especially as an entrepreneur and managing multiple departments. It's just really getting back that I can wake up, I have a really good wind up and I'm not lagging throughout the day. I can knock out 6 hours of work and 6 hours of calls without having feeling like I just worked a double shift, and I'd still be able to like maybe, even do a little bit of work after that, because I just got so much done and I still feel energized and focused really. And like I said, in the state of flow, you kind of find your purpose, and, your work becomes fun. I think at the end of the day, you don't really want to be working just to like, obviously you have to, pay your bills and all that stuff. But, when it becomes just like a grind, literally gears are grinding, you know, you just kind of lose that flow and that focus, when you're not really focusing all in.
100%, 100%. I'm trying to understand that. It's really interesting too, because, in this game of health and, we're so kind of involved in like the space, right? Sales, entrepreneurship. It's
Yeah.
also, it's very go, go, go. We kind
Yeah,
of,
no.
that normal life, is not tense. So we really get attached to these identities of these high performers, and there's good and there's bad that come with it. But I've seen so many different clients, and even people that are not clients, just people in general, networking, they come to me and they really have like a broad of symptoms, right? Things that they can kind of pinpoint as a pain point.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know what it was, but if you wouldn't mind, just like tell the audience, what were some of those things that were popping up where you're like, damn, like, I think I gotta do something about this.
Yeah, good question, man. Um, I think, like I said before, when I first met you, it was just the fact that, I didn't know anything else. I was ignorant. I had a good baseline. I was naturally really healthy, athletic, but my brain was just frenzied. Like, it was fried. It was just I couldn't. It was to the point where, like, by 3 p.m., I felt like I worked, like I said, 12-hour shift, and I was working for 4 hours. So I think that was my biggest pain point, was that there was just so much going on in the business at the time, and I really wanted a clear mind and focus. And realizing that, like, this isn't the way. This is sustainable, right? Like, yeah, we can scale the business, which is great, but, what does that leave you with? Like, bad health, you're getting sick. I'm just not enjoying what I do. So I think my biggest pain point was just like, I needed clarity, focus, and, I just didn't want to crash anymore.
100%. Yeah, bro. I get it, man. There's nothing like, in this game, you have numbers, you have data, you can
Yeah.
duplicate that, so you can manipulate variables. But if you can't duplicate your behavior that allows you to control those variables, you have to really ask yourself, especially in sales. A lot of times people aren't saving a lot of money. The lifestyle's kind of coming up with it. You have to ask yourself, what happens when the gravy train stops? God
Yeah.
forbid, what's the plan then? And you recognize that ahead of time. And I think that's one of the reasons why we align a lot. So I love that about you, Mike, and that's great. Something that does come to mind here is there's a lot of things on the market like workout plans, all this type of stuff. Obviously, what we do in the program is very unique. Is there other things out there like it? Sure. Is there anything exactly like it? Absolutely not. Right? It's very unique. It's very special. But from your perspective, I can talk about this at all, but this isn't about me. This is about you. What is the biggest pillar or the biggest takeaway after the 4 months? I know there's probably a few, but just try to pinpoint that one thing that was like, where's the transition point for you? Was it kind of something in the habits? Was it one of the tests that we did that unlocked some insights in the data? What was that kind of turning point for you where you're like, damn, that was it?
Yeah, good question, man. I think for me personally, it's always been the habits, right? I'm very accustomed to a certain thing that I do every single day.
Mhm.
And once that I kind of incorporate something new into my life, it becomes like you said, like a habit. And, I think that, and just being held accountable too, has really helped too. Cause there's a lot of times, like I'm managing teams where I'm managing my clients, and, I'm kind of helping them stay, accountable. But, you need that for yourself too. And it's all a domino effect at the end of the day too. So, I think I think for sure this is helping me stay accountable. Whenever I have questions, I'm literally like, we had, a couple weeks ago where, I took a supplement that just was really not for me. And, you always ask, I appreciate we always ask, like, why do you think that, instead of just giving me the answer, right? So yeah, I think that's been like one of my biggest takeaways, is just like being held accountable and just implementing, habits that fit my lifestyle. Everyone, like you said, everyone's different. But I think kind of going into like showing you what I'm doing before we started working together, and then after, it's just like I can see the change. You know what I mean? Based on what you tell me. So, yeah, man.
Got you, bro. I got you. Tell me, what was, just for the audience, what's your favorite habit? Right. I know we have like a lot
Oh man.
over a period of time, but tell me, what's your favorite habit? What one
I
step?
have, yeah, bro. I have to say I would have to say two. I think definitely wind down has been big. Cause I used to definitely be like I want to say night owl. Um,
Mm.
and I think just the walks, man, and getting sunlight. It's something that I used to do a lot, as I told you before. And like I said before, man, you kind of just go into a period of like, you don't see the importance of it until you see the importance of it, of
Mm.
not doing it, right? And once I started to implement that again, or having, like I said, someone help me accountable for that habit, it, really kind of opened my eyes to like, this isn't just for work. This is a lifestyle, this calms me. It just stresses me. And I'm not really a person that gets stressed too easily, but we're human and, things are going to happen, whether it's stuff going on in your family life, work, relationship, whatever, right? You can just be the strongest person. I feel like, especially for men, you feel like you're invincible, but at the end of the day, dude, a bullet can still kill you, And, I think your mental is probably like the worst drug. You can either help it or not, like you can abuse it or help it. So keeping your head clear, the walks help a lot. Almost that wind down, man, has really been beneficial, to be honest with you, bro. But I
That's
didn't know this. I didn't know the stretching helps before bed, man. And I had to double check the chat GBT, and they gave me exactly what you told me, man. So you're up there with the AI, brother.
I love it, man. I love it. No,
Yeah.
it's awesome. I appreciate you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I think too as well, you know, I will admit one thing I pride myself on what I've created and the value that it adds is every single client has seen results within 2 weeks. Every single client has had the transformation after 4 months, sometimes even people earlier like you, even before 3 months, right at that mark. But what's the real objective here, right? The real objective is program is over, right? It doesn't matter if like, we keep going or we don't. We're here for sustainability. We are here for the lifestyle. So tell me this, Mike, what things are going to allow you to stay sustainable outside of our coaching calls, outside of our accountability? I'm always going to be there for you. You know that. But when that kind of train stops, what's life going to look like for you then?
Yeah, good question. I think for me personally, it just it kind of starts with, like I said, the habits. When we first started, I had a decent baseline, but I knew I could be better, right? And I always believe, and you've mentioned this too, is that like your body loves structure, and I'm the same way. Like post architecture graduate, like I love that structure, but you do need days that you just need to just not be structured. And I think going into a lifestyle, you have to kind of always remember that. Like I always say, like you said too, 80/20, right? Where I kind of use like that one day of the week where I don't respond to clients, I don't respond to my team. It's just me and family. And I think that's how you manage it. It's all a balance, as cliche as it sounds. Everyone says it, but if everyone's saying it, there's truth to it. And I think just maintaining my 80/20, and like I said, if I could be optimized 5 days out of the week, which is usually Monday through Friday for me, it leaves me the weekend to like, just focus on my own self and prepare for the next week too. So I'm not just going every day 24/7 like a robot. And I think that's how I can sustain it long term. And like you said, I've taken so many resources from you and taught it to others as well in my life. So I think that aspect too helps a lot, because now you're like, hey, look, like this helped me, it may help you. And if it doesn't, cool, but at least you're kind of spreading that gospel. And you want everyone to live well. At the end of the day, like I said, it's all about your wellness. Yeah, optimizing for your sales and business and all that is obviously very important, like extremely important. But it really doesn't mean nothing when, at the end of the day, if you're not healthy and you're not there for people that you love and care for. So yeah, man.
Oh, say it again, bro. Oh man, it resonates with me. You have 100 just on that. Beautiful. Well, let's wrap things up here, brother. I have one final question for you, Mike, if I may. And that is, what's the next mountain you're going to climb with your health and your performance? You've been very successful so far. You've been doing great. What's that next northern peak? What are you shooting for?
Dude, good. That's a really good question. I think for me, man, honestly, my biggest peak is just getting to the point where, like I said before, I can translate this into other people around me. Whether it's my friends, whether it's my family. I think it's kind of like a lifelong journey. Because at the end of the day, yeah, I believe, I'm always going to take care of myself no matter what. It's like, the whole saying, you put the oxygen mask on first before you help, your neighbor. But I think it's only so much you can help yourself. You really have to like see it in others, because others will teach you more by yourself sometimes than what you'll learn just by yourself. So I think for me, it's just like really, I'm not trying to become a coach, but I think just really helping others, and even if it's just within your friend group, you know, or your family, I think that's big enough because that can transition to another generation. And what I mean by generation, I literally mean like my kids and their kids, you know, and that's like a legacy that I want to kind of leave behind, is just health over wealth, no matter what. You know,
Love it, bro. Super solid. And that's what it's about at, the absolute end of the day, right? It's about,
Mhm.
what are we making outside of ourselves? And it's
Exactly.
interesting too because, right, sunlight and walks, I know you love those. The day,
Hmm.
you do have kids, you go to a networking event, you're at a family barbecue, things of the
Yeah.
such, right? If you're just happen to talk and, one of these things slip out because we know how much you naturally love it, you know, what kind of impact does that have? If that cousin then has their kids, right? Maybe you don't have kids at the time, and then they
Mhm.
start doing morning walks with them. Now their kids from the beginning age, their hormones are regulated purely by sunlight and movement, right? So I just, I really kind of get fixated over that. That is the impact we make. I think it truly is the essence of like the tree and its roots. And every day that we continue to get more knowledge and apply it, we're watering those roots, we're making it stronger. And what happens with roots? They may kind of be silo for a while, but what happens? They always interconnect with others, with people, with our habits all the time. So that's all for today, guys. I hope you absolutely enjoyed me hosting Mike on our client interview. This guy is a savage. If you ever want to get in touch with him, I will connect with him since he's just one of those awesome dudes. But that is exactly how Mike has been able to double his commissions in under 90 days, scale his health, scale his lifestyle, and just be in a far better place to live the highest quality of life for as many years as God will give him here. And that is all we have for you today. I'll see you guys in the next video. Mike, it's a pleasure. Thank you, brother.
All right, brother. You too. Peace.